Good morning and welcome to our Fremont County Board of Commissioners meeting on this July 11. We'll call this meeting to order and we'll begin with our invocation from Luke Kennedy from Vineyard Canyon City, to be followed immediately by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Jesus, we thank you for this day. Thank you for this group of men and women who help direct and lead our county. I just pray a blessing over this meeting and over this next month and the rest of this summer for our county. And we pray your guidance and wisdom and direction for our leadership. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you, Luke. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Grantham.
Here.
Commissioner Bell.
Present.
Commissioner McFall.
Present.
County Attorney Jackson.
Present.
Planning and Zoning Director Victoria.
Present.
All in our places. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, we do have a couple of changes to address to our agenda this morning. So I move to approve today's agenda with the following changes. Under number 6, consent agenda, item 3, we are adding letter B, which will read, schedule a public hearing per Planning and Zoning Director Dan Victoria. The public hearing, PP 22-001 for Mystery Subdivision Filing 2, previously was scheduled for August 8th of 2023. We are moving that to September 26th of 2023 at the request of the applicant. The other change is under number 7, administrative and official,
Easy for you to say.
administrative and informational items. Our county manager, Tony Carochi, is excused from today's meeting, so we are striking his report from today's agenda.
Second.
Has been moved and seconded. Any further
I'll try to get
attempts
better.
at discussion?
And changing citizens who wish to address commissioners as number 1, I assume?
Yes.
Yes, and renumbering
Thank you.
the items below.
No. We are not removing staff and elected officials because elected officials still.
That's still number 1, just
Have-
removing A.
Yes,
That'd be yes.
still do have
Gotcha.
reports. Okay.
Good catch. All right. Any further discussion or attempts thereof?
I don't
Roll
know,
call.
give me a minute.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Excellent. Now we move on to the consent agenda. It will be noted, and we'll talk about this here actually in a little bit, Dan. I still want you to explain what we added in here. Let's go ahead and get a motion, though.
Mr. Chair, move to approve the consent agenda with scheduling of a couple of public hearings. The first one is the SRU 23-001 is a major modification to Captain Zipline, Play Dirty ATV. That will be on August 22nd. And the second one is the one we just added to the agenda, which we'll have Dan discuss in just a second.
Second.
Has been moved and seconded, and I'll ask Mr. Victoria to kind of just do a brief explanation. I think Commissioner Bell explained it a little bit as well, but please.
Absolutely. So yesterday I received an email from the consultant who's been working on this application. So I guess the owner is out of the country due to family reasons, and he's not anticipated to be back in time for his public hearing. So they requested a September date.
Okay. And it is as simple as that. By request of the applicant, we're going to move that public hearing, and this just gives us enough time to make sure we get all the notices out, and anybody that was planning on August can move their calendars to September on that.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a note. Also, under the consent agenda, we are not approving any minutes.
Correct. Okay. Brenda, do we need to modify the motion to exclude number 1 since there is actually no approval of minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I amend my motion to approve the consent agenda with the added additions that Commissioner Bell made a minute ago, with the subtraction of number 1, approval of minutes.
And renumbering of other items.
And renumbering of the rest, yep.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner McFall,
Aye.
Commissioner Bell,
Aye.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Well, that was more complicated than our consent
Wow.
agendas usually are.
Yeah.
Much.
Now, on to administrative and informational items. Begin first with our staff and elected officials. We don't have any staff for a report. Well, we guess we do have a staff, but. Yeah, I should probably just wrap it up and go home. I'm done for the day. I'll see y'all next week. It's been fun. I guess we turn to our elected officials, unless the staff would love to give a report. I would certainly welcome any staff reports that the staff might have.
That sounds insincere. I'll pass. Thank you.
Fine. Elected officials, who would like to begin?
Sure.
Commissioner
Absolutely.
Bell.
Yes, thank you, sir. I just would like to let folks know that Commissioner McFall and I are headed next week to Travis County, Texas, where Austin is located, for the National Association of Counties Annual Conference. It's a really, really great time for us to go and to help shape national policy, which is, I think, for me, the most exciting part. We also learn a lot of information while we're there. We have the opportunity to attend so many different sessions and workshops on a lot of different topics. We have choices to make because every day, every single minute, something different is scheduled. There are 3 or 4 choices most of the time, and so we always kind of confer and say, well, what are you going to? Because I'll go to something else. While we are there, Commissioner McFall serves on the Steering Committee for Public Lands. I serve on the Steering Committee for Agriculture and Rural Affairs, and this year I think might be the first year that 2 commissioners from Fremont County both are running resolutions through their own steering committees to go on to the national board and eventually become a permanent part of the NACO platform, I guess is, probably the best word. And so the one that I'm running, I did last year, and it has to do with supporting the agricultural industry in the United States, both financially and in a lot of other ways as well. And so we're really excited about getting that done because, as I said, it really does help shape national policy because the NACO takes those platforms and advocates at a federal level for the changes that we as counties are looking for. So I think that's always a really great thing. I'm excited to say I have the opportunity this year for the first time to actually help present one of our sessions. So that's going to be about media in rural areas. And as a former reporter, editor, and photographer for the Canyon City Daily Record, I'm really excited about doing that. And the final thing I will say about that is because we will not return until 2 weeks from today, we have rescheduled previously our next meeting. It will not be held on Tuesday. It will be held on Wednesday, the 26th of July, but we will begin at 9:30, our normal time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Commissioner.
Thank you. My resolution for that is fire mitigation in the 1099 rule. It already passed my Public Lands Committee, and it was picked up by another committee yesterday. I presented it to them, Finance Committee, so it's going to be presented twice, so that one will definitely become NACO policy. Real quick, we are not under any fire restrictions right now in Fremont County. Custer County yesterday went to stage 1. It's still very, very dry out there. We had a lot of great moisture, and it's green and beautiful, but the trees are still really dry, and the grass is going to start drying. So be just very careful while you're out there enjoying those green lands, because fires are starting, and we've had a few the last couple of weeks that have thankfully been controlled really quick, but they could get out of hand really fast with this wind blowing. Now to the exciting news. We got the fair coming up. The fair starts July 28th and goes through August 5th. It'll be the second year we've had it at Pathfinder Park, but the coolest part about this year is that we're going to be able to use the new pavilion out there. It's really, really close to being done, and we had a construction update meeting yesterday, and they feel like they're going to be completely done before the fair. So be able to have the livestock and stuff under that pavilion have the projects and stuff in the event center, and then lots of events on the whole grounds out there between rodeos and kids' days and all kinds of neat, fun stuff for the families. I want to remind everybody the Buyers Barbecue is on August 5th. Starts at 2 o'clock for the barbecue, and then the auction starts at 4 o'clock. It'll be out there to support the kids and their projects, and hopefully help them make some money to pay for the projects that they have. Their animals are not cheap, so they need all the help that they can get, and it's a great time as well. So hope everybody comes out and enjoys the fair, and I'll mention it again in our next meeting, just to remind everybody. Thank you.
Excellent. Just to pile on the dry conditions up in, especially in the mountains, in western Fremont. I mean, we've had several spot fires, and we don't need more, so continue to be careful. Regardless of the fact that if you live anywhere on this end of the county and your weeds look like a tropical rainforest, doesn't mean that it's wet everywhere, and we still have to be careful and encourage that. Just a couple things, or at least one a little bit more close to home. We have our Board of Equalization will be meeting over the next 2 or 3 weeks-ish. And those will be getting on our commissioner's calendar. As you are probably too well aware, the property taxes that came out and the notices of valuation from the assessor's office, they've been fielding all of the protests over that, and those that didn't get an answer that they liked will now appeal to the Board of Equalization. So we'll be meeting off and on over the next several weeks, fielding all of those protests. If you're interested in that and want to come and observe. The other aspect, with all the rain that we did have in many areas of the county, been kind of dealing with this with a certain situation, but just please note that our Department of Transportation crews are doing the very best that they can on road maintenance and getting around the county. It's interesting that no matter how well you plan, and our crews do a great job of getting everywhere across the county and maintaining the roads, and then weather like this happens and it throws a monkey wrench into the gears. But they are doing the best they can to get around the county and get a lot of these things taken care of as quickly as they can. And so just be aware of that. Other than that, I think that's it for my comments, unless there's anything that the clerk has. Then we will move on to the next item on our agenda, item number 2, under our administrative and informational, which is citizens who wish to address the commissioners on a matter not scheduled on the agenda. We have one signed up so far. If you would like to address us at this time for something that's not on the agenda, please grab the sign-up sheet over there by Mr. Villagrana, and please do that. But at this point, we do have an Alex McCurdy. Yes, sir. And he's here to address us. Please come up to the mic. And push that button in the center and turn that mic on. There you go.
Electronics. My name is Alexander McCurdy. I purchased a piece of property at 4346 County Road 15. I am the last habitation before you reach Florence Mountain Park. I bought the property with the wildlife in mind. My neighbor chooses to run a vermin refuge. He will not prepare his property for fire. His weeds are out of control. The televisions, the electronics, the old refrigerators, the dishwashers, it looks like a junkyard. The 5 partially disassembled cars are a problem. The 3 55-gallon drums of oil are a problem. But what I'm here to talk today about is the bears. Because he refuses to get a bear-proof dumpster, there are 2 generations of bears who have become habitated to his dumpster. At this time of year, as fertile as the nuts and berries are, no bear should be reaching for a dumpster. They're tipping it over already, and it's the baby. You can tell by the size of the paws. He's probably 3 years old. A bear habituated to humans is a bear that will eventually kill livestock or people. I do not want this bear trapped. It's not the bear's fault. My neighbor refuses to get a bear-proof dumpster. I've talked with my children about this. They oppose any legislation. They're anarchists. I love them dearly. So my asking you for a legislation that says, hey, can we have bear-proof dumpsters? Can we have a law? Because the sheriff can't do anything. And he can't ask him to pick up the trash because he didn't litter. The bear did. So I have a half a mile of garbage up and down my driveway and within a quarter mile of his house. My wife and I spend a great deal of time picking up crap. I just put a $30,000 well into my property. I am invested in this county for the long term. I would like to improve my property. I would like it to be something that people would enjoy. I'm not sure how to deal with the bear problem. I don't want it trapped. I don't want it killed. How do we instill responsibility in our rural neighbors? That's my question. My suggestion is that perhaps a legislation or a regulation that would say, in the event of a complaint, a resident can be ordered to put in a bear-proof dumpster for the safety of my 7 children, my 11 grandchildren, and my 3 great-grandchildren. I will have the mining commission out on my property this summer. They will be filling in the 2 sinkholes. They will be filling in the access to the old carbon gem. I'm trying to make my home a blessing to the county, an increase in value. I don't mind paying more taxes, for God's sake. I live on the county. I'm ag. Anyway, I like the bears. I don't want them trapped. The sheriff can't help me. The county can't help me. I come to the commissioners and I say, hey, you know, things have changed in the last 30 and 40 years. It's not what it used to be. We can't burn our asbestos in a tank in the backyard. It's just not permitted anymore. So like I say, I don't want this poor bear trapped, but he's a second generation. I now have 2 generations of human acclimated bears that believe garbage is their right. And if you'll forgive me, that's dangerous. I mean, that's dangerous to us humans, us, the livestock we raise. I don't dare put chickens on my property. I'm not a fool. Anyway, I'm done. If you guys got anything to let, you know, any suggestions in return, I've offered to my neighbor to pay the difference between the dumpster and the bear-proof. After his son shot at me, and they burned one of their mobile homes along the property line at 4:30 in the morning, I don't have terribly good relations with my neighbor, and I apologize. As a neighbor, I'm supposed to be patient, and I'm supposed to be understanding, and I'm supposed to be cooperative. But after you shoot at me and you try to burn down my house, I guess maybe I got an attitude, and forgive me if I got an attitude. If you guys got any questions of me, ask. Otherwise, I'm going to go sit down.
Anything? I appreciate you letting us know about that. At least on the front end, I think, from what you're describing of the property next to you, if you know the address of the property, don't say it right now, but maybe write it down and we'll get it to our code enforcement folks.
I have been in touch with code enforcement, and at this point, because I am a Luddite and I cannot figure out how to take the pictures from my phone and print them on my computer so that I can give them to them, I apologize. But yeah, I know how the process goes. I have a written complaint. My wife and I have been working on it. There's a number of issues on that property that I believe, because the property's at the end of the road and it's been ignored for so long, the people who own the property have, at this point, 2 recreational vehicles that are inhabited year-round and have been for over 2 years. Sewer, that's what the 50-foot hose in the field is for. The 450-gallon water tank, oh, I don't live here more than 120 days a year. No, that's just for my dogs. I'll finish my complaint to the county, and I thank you folks for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you for bringing that to us and making us aware.
Well, like I say, I like bears. If I didn't like bears, I wouldn't have moved where I moved.
Anyone else in the audience that wishes to address the commissioners? Seeing none, we'll move on in our agenda. There is no old business, so on to new business. We have before us item number 1, which is a request for the issuance of a malt venison spirituous liquor special events permit for American Medical Refugees Foundation for an event at Pathfinder Park, Fremont County Fair, 6655 Highway 115, Florence, on the dates of July 28th through August 5th from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. This year, 2023. And Representative Amy Borland Hildebrand. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners.
Good morning.
We are going to begin. Just why don't you give us a rundown of what you have planned, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. I am the founder of the American Medical Refugees Foundation, which assists chronically and terminally ill children that have had to relocate from another state to access more adequate health care and options. I also serve on the Fremont County Fair and Rodeo Board. So I presented to the board of the foundation the idea of having a host nonprofit, the length of the fair, that would then coordinate with other nonprofit organizations and benevolent organizations so that several entities could utilize the beer garden to raise funds while also allowing a beer garden the entirety of the fair so that there would be more draw for food trucks to stay the entirety of the fair. In addition, the Fair Board has been trying to expand so that we have events that last all week long that hit and attract the different demographics of our county and the surrounding areas. We've included the CPRA rodeo on the second weekend to add to the junior and ranch rodeo on the first weekend. In addition, that first Sunday, we will have an all-day music fest with headliner Michael Martin Murphey in concert. On Monday and Tuesday, we're bringing in a competitive mechanical bull tournament. On Wednesday and Thursday, we're inviting veterans for Veterans Appreciation and some of the local vintage cars from the Florence Merchants Car Show and the Canyon City Car Show. These are efforts to try and bring in people to visit the fair all week long. When they do, we want to be able to offer a beer garden that will not be selling liquor. It will only sell beer and wine. They will be in cans only. The cans will be opened by those that are handling the beer garden and poured into cups. As required, all of the servers will be tip certified, and the nonprofits or the organizations that will be utilizing the beer garden will be provided the security that is required as established on the maps that I'd submitted to the county. This allows us so that just one organization doesn't make all of the money. So FFA, which we have Director Cynthia Fall here representing, will be handling the beer garden the first weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the last Friday, Saturday of the fair. And then we have the Elks, the Florence Senior Center, and then our foundation, in its wisdom, will be donating any of the proceeds from the time that we work the beer garden to Colorado Make-A-Wish and the Chelsea Hutchison Foundation, of which the board has graciously sent a commitment letter so that we have an understanding that though we are the host of the liquor or the beer garden, we will not be profiting from it. We are simply coordinating with others so that we can have multiple entities. Obviously, having a beer garden the entire time, noon to midnight, is not necessarily what we were looking for. It was a blanket of application with the maps I submitted. There are more specific times. I would only like to add that on Friday, August 4th and Saturday, August 5th, the Special Events Committee is still working on having music at the end of Family Day and after the CPRA rodeo. So the extension to maybe 9 or 10 o'clock or a little later on those nights. But obviously on the first night, ribbon cutting on Friday, July 28th starts at 5:30, so we don't need an all-day beer garden. And it's also the junior rodeo, so we don't expect that it's going to be, last into the wee hours of the night. But it is the first time that we have tried this, so in advance, I apologize for any inequities or deficiencies in information. We are definitely trying to be as transparent and trackable and tangible as possible so that this could be something that is an opportunity for not only the fair, but other organizations to benefit.
Okay. Turn to my fellow commissioners. Any questions for the applicant?
I believe you've actually already answered the question that I typically have, and that is of training for all servers.
Yes.
And so you've addressed that, and I just would double check and make certain that you know and understand that every person who is involved with serving must be trained and certified.
Yes, and we are requiring that a printed certificate of that training completion is given to us before they are served.
Okay, and how will you distinguish those who are of age to drink and those who are not of age to
There
drink?
will be wristbands, but even if you're wearing the wristband that it's over 21, you will still be ID'd every time you visit the beer garden.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything? Commissioner? Nope. Okay. At this time, we'll turn to our county clerk for the quote-unquote staff report. Commissioner Grantham. I'm Commissioner.
So thank you, Clerk Grantham.
You know, I'm going to take a little
There's
break.
the door. Door's right over that way.
I'm not feeling well. I'm going to step out for a few minutes.
Okay, then.
Grantham?
Thank you,
please.
Mr. Chair. All paperwork was turned in order for our office. The county attorney verified the paperwork was in order. We did receive the approval from Public Health to go. They did post the poster in the window 10 days before the hearing today. The only thing we haven't received back was the sheriff's office report for the area that'll be used. So it's the recommendation of the staff that this liquor license is approved on the condition that the sheriff's report is returned and there is no problem or irregularities in the drawings. So,
Okay. Any questions for Clerk Grantham?
No question, but I would just like to commend Clerk Grantham and his office. We have had this application for some time. We had a lot of questions, not necessarily issues, but we had a lot of questions, and I think that they have done a really good job of working with you to answer all the questions up front that we had, rather than waiting until you appeared before us, and then we were looking at it and saying, I don't understand, what is this, what is the real plan? So I just wanted to mention our clerk and his staff and thank them all for doing a great job, and thank you for being responsive in all the inquiries that they have coming back to you.
Thank you. I appreciate your staff as well. Starting something new and trying to make sure that we do it right. Communication is key, and they have been wonderful.
and I will take zero credit in all this. It's all my staff that have been doing all the work, so I appreciate them.
I was just going to say the same thing. We will, since,
I've got a question.
oh, please, please.
Kate, explain to us the security for each of these events and how it's going to work.
Absolutely, sir. So as seen in the maps by the red indicator, that is the 4-foot neon orange snow fence that's put around. On that, there will be signs that say no alcohol past this point. You can also see the yellow dots with security. Those will be individuals that are posted to make sure. In addition, there is security that will be at the beer garden the entirety that it is open.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, well, at this time, if there's no further questions for the applicant, we will open this up for comments to anyone in the audience if they wish to speak on this matter. Did you want to? Sure. All right.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
You know me, Jim Sheridan, VFW Pills Commander out of Penrose. With this matter, with the fair, I am in favor of this because I have reviewed what she has there, security measures, as well as what it will benefit for the fair itself. With you knowing my long history of what I do and what I've done in the past, she has really touched the base on across there, but it would also too be great for the county and the community for in that area because she's thinking outside the box on this. It will bring in a lot of great people in this area, and she has thought about the safety factor in this as well as security. And with this, it'd be beneficial for this county as well as Florence area and that there were for the rodeo. It'd be a great thing. So, and like I said, I've talked to her and she's covered all factors. She is very good at what she does, and I'm kind of offering some of my help future for her if she needs it, and for the county, if whatever they need from there. But that's what I have. But if you vote for this, favorably, that's great, because it would be a great thing for the county and the city. Thank you.
Thanks,
Great.
sir.
Thank you,
Thanks.
sir.
Jim, can you fill out one of those sheets over there by the sheriff? Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Any further comments or
Yeah,
questions?
I have a comment. Amy mentioned that the proceeds were going to go to FFA, the Elks, the Florence Senior Citizen, Make-A-Wish. Missed somebody, I think. But there is also some of those proceeds going back to the Fair Board.
That is correct. That is correct. So the FFA agreement, because they're on what would be considered the prime days, the days that we expect the most amount of people trafficking the fair, frequenting the beer garden, they will donate 20% of the net proceeds back to the fair. On the days that it is lower traffic, the Elks, the Florence Senior Center, AMRF, or Make-A-Wish, and the Chelsea Hutchison Foundation, because there's less traffic, they are giving 10% to the fair. But all of the organizations are donating a portion of proceeds back to the fair.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, any further comments or questions? If not, I will take a motion.
You okay? I have a motion for you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, quickly before we all have to leave.
What a day. Excuse me. I move to approve the malt, Venice and Spirituous special events permit for American Medical Refuge Foundation for the event at Pathfinder Park, which is a Fremont County Fair. It'd be at 6655 Highway 115 in Florence on the following dates, July 28th through August 5th. She does have the times 12 to 12. However, we know that some of those will not be that extensive because those certain events will have certain hours. That's it.
Did you want to address the sheriff's
Oh, yeah,
office?
sorry, forgot about that. The sheriff's report, we did not get that back yet, so contingent upon his report coming back favorable.
All right, I'll second.
Okay, has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I see that there's a mechanical bull tournament, and Commissioner Grantham wanted me to challenge Commissioner Bell to that tournament. But he was afraid to do it himself, so.
I just need to know which Commissioner Grantham we're talking
Well, either
about.
one, either one. So the challenge has been issued, and
There we go.
that's all.
Well,
Excellent.
good for him,
You
whoever
heard it
that
here
might have
first,
been.
folks. You heard it here first. So, Mr.
If I may say, I'm on the Forest Fire Protection District Board, and I'll make sure the ambulance.
It's just close. Yes, sir, got you covered.
Somebody's looking out for me. I appreciate that. Thank you.
We appreciate that more than we could possibly convey. Yes. All right. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner McFall,
Aye.
Commissioner Bell,
Aye.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And our last item on.
Good luck,
the-
Amy.
Yes. Last item on the agenda is the appointment of a new Department of Transportation Director to the GIS, I should say, appointment of the new Department of Transportation Director to GIS Authority Board with a term expiring July 11, 2025.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I think most folks are aware that Tony Adamick, a long-term Fremont County employee who has been with the Transportation Department for many, many years and has served as director there for Fremont County, is getting ready to retire. So with that loss, though, comes a great gain, I believe, in the form of Mike Witt. He is our new DOT director, who has been working with Tony very closely the last couple of months to really learn that department, everything about it. And I think he would be a fine replacement for Tony on this board. So with that, I move to appoint Mike Witt as the new DOT director to the GIS Authority Board with the term expiring July 11th of 2025.
So the motion is to appoint him to the
Appoint him
deal,
to
not as the new director.
Yes, appoint him to the board
Yeah.
as the new director. All right.
I will second that with the note that these guys use this daily, all the time, so it's a good addition.
Okay. It has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Bell,
Aye.
Commissioner McFall,
Aye.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Commissioner Bell.
Speaking of Mr. Adamic, I would just like to invite the public and let you know that at our next meeting on the 26th this month, we will be honoring him here in this meeting for his many years of service. So anyone who might like to attend that meeting, you're more than welcome to be here at that time.
We're gonna
Thank you,
get
Mr.
those
Chair.
millions around the world here for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with no further items on our agenda, before I can stick my foot in my mouth anymore, we are adjourned.